Hi, welcome to this quick video which is based around my blog post regarding a healthy practice for a healthy back. Come down lying supine, semi-supine with your feet on the floor. And just bring your right knee into your chest, interlacing your hands behind your right knee. And just allow the thigh to rest in. And then slowly straighten the left leg out along the floor, pulling the toes back, straightening that left leg, slightly rolling it in. And maybe trying to squeeze the right thigh a little bit closer in to your chest. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing your neck, relaxing the face. Feeling the back resting into the floor, even pressure down through both hips. Still keeping that left leg nice and straight. Toes pulled back, leg rolling in. Slowly bring the left foot back up and place the right foot back into semi-supine. And then bring the left leg in. Initially just squeezing it in, resting it down onto the stomach and the chest. Hands interlaced behind the thigh. And then straighten the right leg out along the floor. Pull the toes back. Slightly rolling the right thigh in. Making sure the shoulder blades are resting on the floor. Even pressure down through the hips. And gradually try and pull that left thigh closer into the chest. And just resting here for a moment. And slowly bring the right foot back to semi-supine and place the left foot down next to it. And then bring both knees into your chest. And just interlacing the hands around the knees or behind the knees. And just allow the thighs to drop down towards your stomach. Allow the shoulder blades to relax. Allow the back to rest into the floor. Allowing everything to relax. The neck is still nice and long. The head is resting on the floor. And then we're going to do separate circles with the knees. So grabbing each knee, just circling them apart, round and round, 3 times each way. The legs are as relaxed as we can make them. The hands and arms are doing the work. Exploring that range of movement, noticing how much you can relax the legs. And once you've done 3 one way, do 3 the other way. Make the circles as round as possible. Obviously there'll be a limitation from the length of the arms, but nice and smooth, nice relaxed legs. And once you've done 3 each way, place the feet back to the floor into semi-supine. Spread the arms out to the side, palms to the ceiling. Just lifting the head up, tucking the chin in, placing the head back down to the floor, lengthening that neck. Then allow the knees to drop over to the left. The legs are just relaxing over to the left. The arms are resting on the floor. The arms are really nice and heavy. The head stays in neutral. And we just allow the knees to drop over as far as they can without creating any strain, without working. Just relaxing those legs over. Then bringing the knees back up. Dropping them over to the right. Again, just letting them relax. The knees will probably come apart. The arms are still heavy on the floor. Just allowing them to rest there. Noticing if we're getting a nice stretch in the back, maybe the ribs. Bringing the knees back up. Twisting them over to the left again. Maybe this time they'll go a little bit further. We've still got the arms nice and relaxed on the floor. We've still got the head relaxed. Looking for a stretch in the low back, the hips, maybe the rib cage. Bringing the knees back up and over to the right again. Again, just letting them relax. Starting off nice and gently with these little stretches. Shouldn't feel challenging particularly, but should feel nice. Again, letting those knees relax. The arms are heavy. Nice, steady breath. And finally, bring the knees up into the middle again. And then bring the right thigh into the chest again. This time we interlace behind the right thigh. And we gently squeezing that knee in. And then we bring it away. We bring the knee over the hip. We straighten the right leg up to the ceiling. So again, it doesn't matter if the leg isn't straight, but we try and keep the knee over the hip. We're pushing up through the right heel, pulling the toes back on the right foot. We're lengthening the leg up towards the ceiling, and then slowly bringing it back into the chest. Then we straighten the left leg out along the floor, toes pulled back, and then we straighten the right leg back up. Using that interlaced hands behind the thigh as a sling, so feel free to move them up and down to make it just right for you, but we're trying to keep the knee over the hip. We're pulling the toes back on the right leg. Then we bring the knee back into the chest. And finally again, straightening up. Pushing that heel towards the ceiling, pulling the toes back. Shoulder blades are relaxed, maybe even pressing the shoulder blades gently into the floor just to double check. The left leg is still active, toes pulled back, still rotating that left leg slightly in. Pressing a little bit harder. Get a last little bit of stretch out of that leg. Feeling a lovely stretch in the back of that right thigh and the calf. No tension anywhere else. Bringing that leg back in. Left leg up to semi-supine. And then we lift the hips up and just reset everything. And then we bring the left thigh in. Interlace behind. Initially keeping the right leg bent as it is. Bring the knee over the hips, straighten that leg up to the ceiling. Left leg up to the ceiling, right leg is still bent. Foot on the floor. Pushing the heel away, toes pulled back. Length through the leg. Doesn't matter if it's not straight, but really try and keep that knee over the hip. And then bring it back into the chest, bend the knee. Straighten the right leg out along the floor, pull the toes back, slightly rotate that leg in, and then straighten the left leg back up again. Maybe pressing a little bit harder with that heel, pulling the toes back a bit more. Working that back of the leg, activity in the front of the thigh, shoulder blades still relaxed. Bring the left knee back in. And finally, the last time. Heel to the ceiling, toes pulled back. Right leg still working. Making sure we're not tensing up the jaw. Breathing in, relaxing, but pulling those toes back, pressing the heel to the ceiling. Straightening that leg as much as we can. It's a lovely stretch in the back of the leg. And finally bringing that thigh in. Right foot up to semi-supine, left one down beside it. Just again lifting those hips up and just resetting everything. Bring the feet hip width apart. And then we're going to start doing some pelvic tilts. So we're arching the back up, rolling the pelvis away, creating space between the low back and the floor. Then we tuck the pelvis under, pull the stomach in, pressing the low back into the floor. And as we breathe in, we arch the back. And as we breathe out, we tuck the pelvis under, flattening the back into the floor. Tugging that pelvis. And just following the breath like this, back and forwards. So every time we breathe out, we press the back into the floor, tilting the pelvis. And as we breathe in, arching the back, creating space between the low back and the floor. Back and forwards. Following your own breath lengths. Exploring that range. Pelvic tilt is a really important exercise for a lot of other things in yoga, so it's really worth getting good at this. So if you feel you haven't quite got it, you can always spend time at other times exploring this gentle little movement. Great mobilizing for the low back. The rest of the body's relaxed, the legs aren't working, it's the stomach muscles that's doing the work here. Continuing to tuck and arch. Back and forwards. And in a moment we're going to come up into bridge. So again we're going to use this pelvic tilt and then lift off the ground and come up into bridge. But continuing the pelvic tilt. Oh, now we're coming up into the bridge. Lovely. Arching, lifting up, pressing the forearms into the floor gently. And coming back down. Arching the back. Then we pelvic tilt, peeling the spine back off the floor, rolling up as far as you can, pressing into the big toes. The feet, slowly coming back down, tucking the pelvis under all the way till you get to the end, and only once the hips are on the floor we arch the back. And again here you can follow your own pace, but trying to move continuously. We're not stopping for any length of time, rolling up and coming back down. Making sure we really tuck that pelvis as we come up into the air. As we're at the top, just pressing the shoulder blades gently into the floor. Then we slowly come back down, really tugging that pelvis so we definitely get the low back pressing into the floor before the hips. The knees are staying over the ankles, so we're not letting them spread apart. Back and forwards. Again, it's a lovely exercise to explore at different times. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, but really working on that spinal mobility. It's a lovely spinal mobility exercise and also strengthens the low back and the core. So it's got many benefits. And then finishing there, resetting everything, make sure everything's in a line. Bringing the right outside ankle onto the left thigh, we're coming into the eye of the needle. We're pressing the right hand into the right thigh, trying to get that knee pressed away, getting a little bit of a stretch behind the right hip to start with. And this might be where you stay if you feel a quite strong stretch behind the right hip. If you can, you bring the left thigh in, you interlace the hands behind the left thigh, you're pressing your right elbow into your right thigh, trying to get that right knee away. You're pulling the toes back on the right leg to protect the right knee. And gently pulling on the left thigh with your hands just to bring them a little bit closer in, increasing that stretch behind the right hip. Shoulder blades are resting down into the floor. Can be quite a strong stretch behind that right hip. So breathe into it, try and relax into it. And all the time exploring, could we get that left thigh a little bit closer? Could we get the right thigh away, the right knee away? And maybe even thinking about arching the low back, so creating a little bit of space between the low back, rolling the pelvis away, which will again increase the stretch. All the time we're breathing, all the time we've got the right foot pulled back, we've got no pain in the right knee. And then placing the left foot back down to the floor, unhooking. Resetting the pelvis. Bringing the left ankle onto the right thigh, pulling the left toes back, and then with the left hand pressing on that left knee, just getting it away. And again here, maybe this is where you stay. Maybe this is the right stretch for you. But if you can, you bring the right thigh in, interlace behind the thigh, and gradually pull that right thigh in towards the chest, pulling the toes back on the left foot still, using your left elbow to press into the left thigh, encouraging that knee away, looking for a really nice stretch behind the left hip. Shoulder blades are gently pressing into the floor. Everything else is relaxed. Try and see if you can just allow that stretch. It's quite intense at times. Just see if you can allow it. And maybe again, if you feel like it, you can arch the back a little bit, rolling the pelvis away, which will increase the stretch, but don't allow the legs to move away. So just pull them in a little bit more if you want. Pressing that left elbow into left thigh. Toes pulled back on the left foot. And slowly pressing the left foot back to the floor, unhook the feet, coming back into semi-supine, bringing everything onto a line. Now come up onto all fours, and if you want you can bolster up your knees. We're going to be on our knees for a little while, so if you want to put something, cushion or something under your knees or double up your mat, please do so. Got our hands under the shoulders, we've got the elbows slightly bent, fingers nicely spread. Front of the feet gently pressing into the floor. Maybe gently pulling the hands towards each other. Then we're going to come into cat. Arching the back as we breathe out, up to the ceiling, chin tucks in. Breathing in, arching the other way, looking up, extending the back. Trying to make the whole back work here. Really using tucking the pelvis under, rounding the whole of the back. Breathing in, arching up, and again here, as with the others, do your own pace. But back and forward, following your breath. Explore if there's any stiffness anywhere, any bits that don't want to move. Often the middle back feels really stiff when we breathe in and come forward and up. And there's certainly an anatomical limit to how far we're going to be able to move that. But as always, we're trying to encourage more movement. Back and forwards. And sometimes the low back tucking under is really difficult as we breathe out, so really tuck the pelvis as you breathe out. Keep even pressure down through the hands and knees. And just continuing to go back and forwards. Exploring that movement. Lovely. Back and forwards. Then coming back into child. So as far as your knees allow, so no pain in the knees. We're resting our hips back towards our heels. We're reaching forward with the hands. Pressing the palms into the floor, allowing the head to drop down. Coming back up. Coming onto our fronts. Coming into a Sphinx-like position. So the legs are relaxed. Got the arms out in front, shoulder height. We're not sagging down between the shoulders, we're pressing up. Just gently pressing the palms together. Getting a sense of gently pulling the elbows back towards our feet. Extending the back forwards, chest forwards, the legs are relaxed. There might be a little bit of discomfort in the low back, but certainly no pain. The legs are relaxed. Again, exploring that, especially the middle back. Can we get that middle back to extend a little bit more? It's never going to extend as much as the low back or the neck because of the anatomy. But let's try and see if we can get a little bit more out of it. And then we drop back into child again. Rounding our back the other way, still arms pressing into the floor, still arms active. Pressing the heels back towards, the hips back towards the heels. Making sure we've got no knee discomfort. Coming back up. And just resetting everything, arms under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Finding the middle point where we've got a neutral spine. Coming into a Superman variation, so we lift the left leg out behind. Place it back down. Right one. Back down, just cycling between the two. Imagining we've got something really important on our back. We don't want the back to move, the back is stable. We're not allowing the hips to lift up, the hips are parallel with the floor. There's going to be a little bit of movement in the back, but not too much. Back and forwards. Tucking the pelvis if we can. Back and forwards. 3 times each way. Noticing if we can control this movement, or whether the hips and back is all over the place. Then we reset. Same thing with the arms. Left arm first. And then the right. Again, the back is totally stable. Maybe imagining we've got a tray on our backs full of a full tea service. Is there any rattling going on? Is it totally quiet? Can we keep it totally stable? No teacup moving at all. Again, 3 times each side. It's much harder than it looks to really keep everything stable. And then we're going to diagonal, left arm, right leg, and the other side, even harder. So if this feels unstable to start with, just stick with the other two the first few times you do this video, and then add this in later on. Really want to keep that back stable, really want to keep those hips parallel to the floor and the shoulders. There's a real tendency for them to roll up or down as we destabilize. Back and forwards, 3 times each way again. Reaching forward and reaching back with that arm and leg. Keeping that back totally stable. Then we go back into child again. Reaching forward those hands, allowing the head to drop down, allowing the hips to drift back towards the heels. Just resting here for a moment. And then we're going to come onto our fronts again. Coming into some Cobra. Just grab around your elbows to get that distance. And then come down, hands under the shoulders. Legs are relaxed. We come up into a low Cobra. We've got the chin tucked in. The back is doing the work. We're not pressing into the hands. The hands are resting on the floor. Squeezing the shoulder blades back, elbows down towards the knees. And if you can, lift the arms out to the side. Palms facing forward, and then bring them back into like a skydive position. Pressing the back of the hands towards each other. The legs are relaxed. Really don't use those legs. Bring the hands under the shoulders again. And come back down and rest. We're going to do that again. So we lift up. Arms are resting on the floor. Squeezing shoulder blades back. Elbows down. Legs are relaxed. Lift the hands up. Arms out to the side. Palms to the front, and then bring them back. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Keep the chin tucked in. The head wants to come up. Press the back of the hands together. Legs are relaxed. Maybe moving the heels apart to try and keep them relaxed. Place the hands under the shoulders and come back down. Coming back up on the elbows. Interlace the hands, coming into half plank. Pressing into those forearms. Keep the knees on the floor, tuck the toes under. Coming up. And then we tuck the pelvis under, tuck it under. Press into the forearms, not just the elbows, the whole of the forearms and the wrists. Make sure we don't sack between the shoulder blades. Tucking the pelvis under becomes really hard work. Maybe look down your body just to see if you're nice and straight. And this might be where you stay. Certainly for the first few times, if you're not very confident with planks, especially this plank with the tucking of the pelvis, it's much harder than a normal plank. But again, really works that core. If you feel confident, you can lift the knees off the ground. But again, the hips don't move up. So typically the hips want to come up higher. Really try and keep them parallel. Keep thinking about tucking that pelvis. Keep pressing into the forearms. Not sagging between the shoulders. Chin tucked in. Then drop the knees back down. Walk back into child. Reaching forward with the hands are active. Gently pressing the palms into the floor. And then reaching back with both hands. Now we're going to relax everything. Just rest here on the floor for a moment. Now come up to sitting cross-legged. Maybe a block under your hips if you feel you got the need for that. If you don't have a block, maybe a book. Keeping the spine really nicely aligned. Even pressure down through the hips. Maybe just shuffling the hip muscles back a little bit. Encouraging a little bit of a gentle arch in your lower back. Allowing the middle back to rest. Reaching up with both arms. Lengthening up through the spine. Placing the left hand down to the floor. And then the right hand onto the right hip. Press the right hip into the floor as you gently walk the left hand out. Bending to the side. So keeping that right hip really pressed into the floor. Reaching up with the right hand, lengthening up through that side. The left hand's resting on the floor, not leaning too far into it. And then we bring the right hand over in line with the ears. Really strong arm, reaching up towards the corner, not flopping over. We've got length through that right side. We've got no pinch or pain on the left side. We're still pressing that right hip down into the floor. Reaching up again, lengthening up through that spine. Coming back over. Bending just a little bit more. Coming back up. swapping sides. But first reaching up, lengthening up through that spine. Bring the right hand down to the floor. And then left hand onto that hip. Really press the left hip into the floor. Walk the right hand out. Find that distance that's right for you. Press the left rib cage out. Getting a lovely side bend in the spine here. The spine's still nice and long. Not slumping down. We're reaching up with that left hand. Encouraging length up through the spine. And then bringing the arm over in line with the ears. Again, that left arm is reaching up. It's long. We're not resting it. We're not flopping into it. We're still pressing the left hip down into the floor. Resting into the right hand, but not too much weight. Then bring that left hand up again. Reach a little bit further up. There's a bit more length in there. And then bring it over again. Lining up with the ear, reaching towards the corner of the room. It's a lovely stretch. Coming back up to neutral. Again, length up through the spine, reaching up. Placing the hands back down onto the knees. Coming into a spinal twist. Bring your right hand onto your left knee, left hand behind on the fingertips. Length through the spine, chin gently tucked in, twist round. Initially just finding where you need to be. And then trying to encourage yourself around a little bit more with no slump in the low back or the middle back. You've got a solidly straight spine. Not forcing anything, encouraging it. Still even pressure down through the hips. And then swapping it over, but again here first, length up through the spine, reaching up with the hands. And then bring them over to the other side. Twisting round. Again, initially just finding what's right for you, but we've definitely got that spine nice and straight. Got the chin gently tucked in. We've got even pressure down through the hips. And then encouraging the twist. Exploring how far we can go today. Twisting round. Lengthening. Coming back to neutral. Again, lengthening up, reaching up. It's such a great tool. Reaching up the hands. Maybe crossing the legs the other way. Shuffling the hips again. Getting really nice and centered again, even pressure. Really grab hold of those knees with the hands. We come up into like a sitting cat position. So as we breathe out, we round the back, chin tucks in. As we breathe in, we arch, we press the chest forward, we look up to the ceiling in a comfortable way. And again, as we breathe out, we round and tuck. So again, you do this at your own pace, at your own breath lengths. Don't necessarily follow the speed that I'm doing. Back and forwards. But at all times, you've got even pressure down through the hips. You've got no pain anywhere. And we're really using the hands and the knees as levers. Very active hands. Mobilizing that spine, right from the base of the spine to the top of the neck. The whole thing is moving. Using the breath as a wonderful tool for encouraging that range, for encouraging that movement. Back and forwards. And then we're just going to roll the shoulders. We're going to find that middle position. The spine is totally straight. We've got slight curve in the lower back. Got length up through the middle back. Got the chin gently tucked in, length through the neck. And if you want, we're just going to sit here for a moment, noticing how our spine and our body feels. The hands are resting on the knees. The elbows are resting down towards the floor. The legs are comfortable. And just letting the breath settle here. Taking a moment to feel how you feel, how the body feels at the minute. Taking a moment to slow the breath down. And the more times you do this practice, hopefully you'll notice how much easier just sitting here becomes. Because it really is quite difficult often for people to have a nice straight spine here and actually rest into this position rather than having to fight it. So this is a good way for you to decide whether you're making progress. As the weeks go by, and as I stick with the practice, Just sitting here on the floor with a straight spine becomes a lot easier. Doesn't require activity in the muscles. Don't feel like you're fighting the slump as much. And you can stay here as long as you like. But I'm going to stay quiet now. Just allow you to sit here. If you want, bring the hands up, palms together in front of your chest. Shoulder blades down. And thank you for watching this video.